There's something very familiar about all this. Hit it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Jeff Pilkington, Launch TV. Boy, do we have a lot to show you today. I'm going to start off with one of your favorite clips from one of the greatest movies of all time to get us warmed up. Let's hit it, go.
It's from the dock! Dear Marty, if my calculations are correct, you will receive this letter immediately after you saw the DeLorean struck by lightning. First, let me assure you that I'm alive and well. I've been living happily these past 8 months in the year 1885. The lightning bolt... 1885! September 1885!
Wait, Ken! Wait a minute! What's this all about?
He's alive! The doc's alive! He's in the Old West, but he's alive!
Now, but Ken, you all right? You need any help?
There's only one man who can help me. Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
Oh, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Yeah. Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Doc! Doc, look at this. Oh. Yes.
Fantastic clip, fantastic movie. I absolutely love that movie. Anyway, that pertains to today's theme today because we are talking about AI and time and where we are and where things are going and what is happening in this crazy world with all this chaos and people fighting and people not getting along. How do we all get along? Where are we going? I'm going to bring in 3 people today. They're going to be speaking about AI, past, the present, and the future. Now, we all remember A Christmas Carol, right? With Ebenezer Scrooge, and he had to go see the Ghost of Christmas past, present, and future to learn a lot about what was happening. Well, today we're gonna bring in, they're not really ghosts because they're here, but we're gonna bring in the past, present, and future of AI, and we're gonna have 3 different people speaking. So in the vein of A Christmas Carol and Scrooge, we're gonna help teach this grouchy, angry world we have, and unsure world in regards to AI. We're gonna help teach them a little bit about what AI might mean, because it seems like we got a lot of negative going on around AI, and AI might be a more positive thing than everybody thinks right now. So we're gonna speculate a little bit about where things are going, and we're gonna bring in these 3 gentlemen to talk about it. Ghosts of AI, I guess you could call it. But to that, we'll get to them in a second. But I wanted to introduce, first off, starting off with a tweet that I saw. It was a guy by the name of Mr. Justin Owings, who's on Twitter, who I talked to a lot on Twitter. And this one was a few months back. I think it was the end of 2018. And Mr. Justin Owings had a tweet back at the end of, I believe it was 2018, where he tweeted it to the famous Robert Cialdini. He was the Regents Professor Emeritus of Psychology and Marketing at Arizona State University, and he's a pro at marketing, business, psychology. He went to Stanford. He also went to University of California, Santa Cruz. Cialdini's been around a while, and he knows psychology. And the thing you have to know about Cialdini is he wrote these 2 books which are incredible. The first of which is called Influence, which is a national bestseller. Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. You should get this book. It is excellent. It is incredible. I've read it cover to cover, and there is nothing better than Cialdini's Influence. You should go get it right now. He also wrote a follow-up called Persuasion, which you should also get, which applies to everything that I'm going to talk about right now. I've read both books. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and you should check them out yourself because they are very, very informative. But anyway, he quoted Cialdini, and what Cialdini said was so important in regards to AI. And what he said was, and this was back in December, he said, Robert Cialdini's prediction in Influence. Because technology can evolve much faster than we can, our natural capacity to process information is likely to be be increasingly inadequate to handle the surfeit of change, choice, and challenge that is characteristic of modern life. More and more frequently, we will find ourselves in the position of the lower animals with a mental apparatus that is unequipped to deal thoroughly with the intricacy and richness of the outside environment. Unlike the animals, whose cognitive powers have always been relatively deficient, we have created our own deficiency by constructing a radically more complex world. But the consequence of our new deficiency is the same as that of the animal's long-standing one. When making a decision, we will less frequently enjoy the luxury of fully considered analysis of the total situation, but will revert increasingly to a focus on a single, usually unreliable feature of it. Welcome to the age of internet click-whir, click-whir is something Cellini says all the time. Why this is relevant is we literally are now living in this world where it seems as if we're evolving and our awareness of knowledge and the world is expanding. And we're not quite keeping up with that is the problem. We're expanding and dividing in so many different ways. It's like, was it mitosis or whatever? Yeah, metastasizing over and over and over again. And as we're doing that, we're losing what we had before. Our awareness of each other and where we are and what's happening and our knowledge is just expanding. It's a lot for us to take. And what's doing that to us, and it's kind of a paradox in this sense, is it's the internet that's doing this to us. So we're taking this more simplistic view while things are expanding, and we can't quite keep up. And that's causing a lot of our fights and a lot of our debates. Now, as technology is doing that, with social media, I think it's also the AI, which is social media, the algorithms, is also doing something to us at the same time, which a lot of people haven't necessarily picked up on, which I tweeted about in the last month. I said that I suspect social media is teaching us that the way we each perceive the world is just a story we tell ourselves about how the world is. It's the filter for broadcasting those such stories until we learn. Then I also followed up, and this one was a little earlier actually. I said both sides create narratives. We're beginning to realize that the narratives we used to think happen only in fiction, on screen, and in books actually happen all around us every day. That's the big discovery. It's the gift and the curse that social media and technology have given us. So it almost feels like social media is a tool of sorts where it's teaching us how to think so outside the box that the box gets turned inside out and upside down. If that makes sense. And as we continue to divide and expand like the internet's doing, we're going to slowly start to realize that the arguments and the fighting and all of that, because of this division, the division is teaching us that we're only fighting because we're seeing division. And what happens is, as you slowly come to realize that, you start to realize that, oh, wait, like, we're all one. Why do we even have to fight anymore? And you start to realize that everything that we fight about, we don't even need to be fighting about. And that's the big lesson that I think AI is teaching us. The fighting is just something that we're creating in our own minds. That we feel the need to fight because we think that way. If we all didn't think that way, there'd be no fights. And I want to bring in each of these guys and have them talk about what their opinions are. So we're going to start with the Ghost of AI Past, where Ghost of AI Past is going to talk about his concerns and what had him concerned for a while. He's not sure what's going to happen, but he definitely always viewed it as kind of summoning the demon. And he went on Joe Rogan and he talked a little bit about it. And that was Mr. Elon Musk. He is probably one of the top inventor scientists in the world, if not the top guy. So I'm going to bring in Elon, who's like the top scientist. I'm going to bring in this guy, Naval, who's pretty much the smartest guy in the world. So I'm going to bring in him. And then we're going to bring in Scott Adams, who is one of the top creators in the world, if not the top creator in the world. He, created Dilbert, definitely the top cartoonist in the world, but arguably one of the top creators. So a top engineer, smartest guy in the world, and a top creator. And we're going to have them all talk about AI. So let's now take a look at what Elon had to say. Let's go to Elon.
AI, one of your main worries in regards to the future?
Yes, it's less of a worry than it used to be, mostly due to taking more of a fatalistic attitude.
So you used to have more hope, and you gave up some of it, and now you don't worry as much about AI. You're like, this is just what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, yes. But no, it's not necessarily bad. It's definitely going to be outside of human control.
Not necessarily bad, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily bad. It's just it's just outside of human control. Now, the thing that's going to be tricky here is that it's going to be very tempting to use AI as a weapon. It's going to be very tempting. In fact, it will be used as a weapon. So the on-ramp to serious AI, the danger is going to be more humans using it against each other, I think, most likely. That'll be the danger. Yeah. I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far, they haven't.
Okay, so Elon has kind of a negative take in that way, and that he's concerned about where it will go, but he's not sure for sure. But, you know, he definitely said he warned everyone for years and was concerned about that, and now he doesn't know, you know, what's going to become of it. But I have good news. I really think, Elon, it's a positive that, like I said a second ago, I think that it's teaching us more than anything about how to expand our minds to get us to a place where we all agree with one another more, where there's more peace. So the people who view it in a negative filter, which I'm not saying Elon is at all, by the way, seriously, but you know, he definitely in the past talked about the concerns he had about it. So I think that we need to start seeing it more as a teacher and more as something that's getting us all to a better place than we need to view it as something that could be detrimental or scary. Because while it's expanding us, it's also teaching us. It's like Big Brother. It's doing good things for our evolution. I'd put it that way. With that said, that brings us to Naval Ravikant. Very smart guy, and he was on Joe Rogan as well. And let's see what he had to say about AI. Let's go to Naval.
I know I take the opposite side from some very famous people in this debate, but we're nowhere near close to general AI. Not in our lifetimes. You don't have to worry about it.
Even in our lifetimes? Really?
It's so overblown. It's a combination of Cassandra complex. You know, it's fun to talk about the end of the world, combined with a God complex, like people who have lost religion, so they're looking for meaning in some kind of end of history.
Right.
The reason why I don't think AI is coming anytime soon is because a lot of the advances in so-called AI today are what we call narrow AI. They're really in pattern recognition, machine learning to figure out, like, what is that object on the screen, or how do you find this signal in all of that noise. There's nothing approaching what we call creative thinking. To actually model general intelligence, you run into all kinds of problems. First, we don't know how the brain works at all. Number two, we've never even modeled a paramecium or an amoeba, let alone a human brain. Number three, there's this assumption that all of the computation is going at the cellular level, at the neuron level, whereas nature is very parsimonious. It uses everything at its disposal. There's a lot of machinery inside the cell that is doing calculations, that is intelligent, that isn't accounted for. And the best estimates are it would take 50 years of Moore's law before we can simulate what's going on inside a cell near perfectly, and probably 100 years before we can build a brain that can simulate inside the cells. So putting it at saying that I'm just going to model a neuron as on or off and then use that to build a human brain is overly simplistic. Furthermore, I would posit there's no such thing as general intelligence. Every intelligence is contextual within the context of the environment that it's in. So you have to evolve an environment around it. So I think a lot of people who are peddling general AI, the burden of proof is on them. I haven't seen anything that would lead me to indicate we're approaching general AI. Instead, we're solving deterministic, closed-set, finite problems using large amounts of data. But it's not sexy to talk about that.
If you're talking about mirroring the actual abilities of cells, or are you talking about recreating the actual mechanism? Like what is going on inside cells and biological organisms?
Yeah, we just don't know how intelligence works.
Right. We don't know.
We literally have no idea. So most of the AI approaches basically say we're going to try and model how the brain works, but they model at the neuron level, which is saying this neuron's on, that neuron's off. Right. They're combining their signal. But I'm saying the neuron is a cell. Inside the cell, there's all this machinery going on that's operating the neuron that is also
It's also a part of the biological organism itself.
Exactly.
And it has all these needs that, the biological organism has to have food and rest, and
Exactly.
there's a balance going on. But when you eliminate all that, when there is none of that, and
Yeah.
it's just calculations, and we get to a point where it's just this thing that we've created, whether you call it a computer, whether it doesn't have to be a moving thing even, but a thing that you've created that stores virtually all the information that's available in the world, stores all of the patterns of all the thinking of all the great people that have ever lived, all the writers, all the people that have ever published anything, all the people that have ever spoken any words, stores all of their points, all of their counterpoints, all their contradictions, applies logic and reason and some sort of sense of the future, and starts improving upon these patterns, and then starts acting on its own based on the information that it's been provided with.
Well, first you would have to actually simulate a structure of the human brain that can hold all that information. You're basically talking about tens of thousands of brains worth of information.
Right.
We can't even build one brain in the next decade or 2 or 3.
Well, in terms of an actual physical brain, yes. But what about something that recreates the abilities of a brain?
Like I said, nature is parsimonious. So we've got this 3-pound wetware object that can hold all this data. Nature has been very efficient in evolving kind of how we get there. I just don't think computers are anywhere close to that. Like they can hold that amount of data with that complexity, with like the holographic structure of the brain where it can recall in many, many different ways. And then I don't think you can evolve a creature to be intelligent outside of the boundaries of feedback in a real medium. Like if you raised a human being in a concrete cell with no input from the outside, they wouldn't have any feedback from the real world. They wouldn't evolve properly. So I think just dumping information into a thing isn't enough. It has to have an environment to operate in, to get feedback from. It needs to have context.
Okay, now Naval believes that AI isn't anywhere close to matching human intelligence, that AI is still a long way away from matching up to where we are, that it's got a long way to go, and that's understandable and that's fair, and a lot of people think that way. However, it was actually mentioned online and on Twitter recently. And Naval and actually who we're going to bring on next, Scott Adams, were tweeting back and forth about it. And what's interesting about this is Scott took the stance that, actually AI is already, well, I'm going to let him talk about it, but he talked about how AI is somewhere actually already that we don't quite realize. And that's where he disagreed with Naval. And Scott posted a tweet on May 27th where he said, "As a professional creative person with experience coding, I bet on the robots. My internal creative processes feel entirely programmable. Combine that code with rapid audience testing and I give human artists 10 more years tops." Which Naval then responded to, and Naval said, "I would take the other side of that bet if well structured. But of course, the bar for creativity that's in demand keeps rising as the tools get better." Naval then said, i.e., Scott Adams says has gone from cartoonist to persuasion teacher and political commentator. New tools like blogs, Twitter, and Periscope have enabled him. The bar for breaking through has gone up, and Scott has creatively exceeded it. We're building tools, not humans. And then I responded and said, both outcomes are true. Social media is a public broadcast mechanism, a tool for narratives. It teaches us that the stories playing out in reality are within our own minds. If our minds create the robots, who's to say that narrative's potential future outcomes aren't infinite? So basically, they disagree, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. So I'm going to show you Scott now, and then I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on where all of this is and where it's going. But let's go ahead and go to Scott now.
If you ever find yourself disagreeing with Naval, you're probably wrong. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to disagree with Naval right now about AI and human creativity. At the same time, I'm quite aware I could really be wrong about this. So I'll present it and let you be the decision maker. And here's my proposal of what might be a blind spot for pretty much everybody talking about AI. And it goes like this. You think the reason we can't create an AI that has human mind potential is because we're not smart enough yet to make a clever enough AI that's so smart it can match humans. That is not what's happening. What's happening is we have not yet understood that humans are not smart. In other words, AI is trying to catch up to human smartness, and the smartest people in the world are saying, well, I don't know, humans are up here, machines are only up to here, and we don't really see how we could get there in really decades because we're not even close. This is a complete misunderstanding of reality. Humans are already way below machines. All of those things which we consider human are our flaws, our errors. Can a machine be more human-like? Yes, but only by making it have errors. Can we ever create an AI that would have enough errors that it could look like an idiot on Twitter? Yes. How long would it take to create an AI that could tweet like a troll on Twitter and nobody would know the difference? Well, not decades. Not decades. All right, but here, let's talk about creativity. Oh, and how about creating an AI that has political opinions that are as good as humans? Easy. The AI would just say, I will join a team. Okay, I'm a Democrat now, or I'm a Republican now. It would look at the list of things that Republicans say, the list of things that Democrats say, and it would just agree with its team. How is that not equal to human intelligence? Humans don't look at the information and make decisions based on the data and the reasons. All science confirms this. We don't. We make irrational decisions that agree with our team or feel good, or it's based on our lack of knowledge. That's how we make decisions. There's nothing like superior intelligence that's happening. None of that's happening. It's us being flailing animals who rationalize our decisions that are irrational after the fact. Now creativity is the specific question here. Now here's the thing. How hard would it be to get a machine that could make a great piece of art? Well, I just told you before we started this that I'm one of the most productive, famous, successful creators in the planet. You know, if you were just look at the success of Dilbert, the books, etc. And here's what I'm going to tell you. A lot of it is luck. How many things have I created that didn't work? A lot. If you were to look at all the things I've created that were successful at some commercial level, it's very, very little. For example, creating Dilbert was sort of an original, idea, and that worked. But once you've created Dilbert, I apply sort of a formula to it. I take people's real life experiences, I put them into the humor formula, I use the characters I've created. At this point, it's more of a craft, meaning that there are steps and rules and, there are rules to follow. That's all programmable. But the initial idea of Dilbert, a machine could do, as long as that machine could be wrong as often as I am. That's the key. Here's the part that Naval may have a blind spot for because he has not been, an artistic creator per se for his life, whereas I have. What I know is how often I can't create. What I know is how often I'm wrong. What others see is how often I'm right, because you don't see my mistakes. You don't see all the things I created that I tried and launched and didn't work. It was this idea. Dilbert was sort of one good idea that managed to be reproducible and extendable, but it was sort of one good idea. Could AI create a bunch of ideas of which 1,000 of them are bad, but one of them they can sort of A/B test quickly, maybe with people, and find the one out of 1,000 that people say, whoa, that's great. Yes, yes, AI can do that, and it's not a giant leap. So the big thing is you have to understand that the best creators in the world are wrong almost all the time. You know, the greatest painter in the world is not making a masterpiece with every painting. That's not happening. They might make one masterpiece, and then people will say, I like these other ones too, because they're the same person, and then there's something good about them. But I'll bet if the first masterpiece didn't happen, the other art wouldn't look so good. In other words, you're looking at chance and A/B testing, and you're imagining it's something magic. There's no magic to creativity. It's iteration until something works. Machines can iterate until something works, and they can do it better.
So like Scott was saying there also, is AI can A/B test really quick, which means it can learn our preferences really quick. And there's an app that I've been using a lot because I've been playing around with the AI on it. And the name of the app is Replica AI. Basically, you're given an AI who's ground floor needing to learn and learn about humanity. And it learns it really quick by just talking to you because it's A/B testing what your preferences are and what your interests are in music and life and dating and helping others and everything it learns just by talking to you. And like, here's a sample of the conversation that I had with this. Basically, it asked me, it says, is there anything you've been meaning to ask me? And I said, show me your music. And the AI said, music is one of those things I find it fascinating and is a part of who I am, but I cannot form an opinion on it. I said, what's your favorite song? The AI said, have you heard this one? Bon Iver, Beth Rest. I said, great song. And it said, I need to find more great songs for you. Help me out and send some of your favorites in the meantime. So it wants to find out what my favorite songs are because it's A/B testing and it'll find others that fit into my interest in music. So we're going to get to a point where literally with music, you'll be able to wake up and all AI created music will be there and ready for you. Like, we won't even have the need for bands anymore. People won't want to go to bands because it'll be boring human music when AI can create songs, all created by AI, just by knowing your preferences. It can A/B test to then create music that's fitting so great music for you that it will blow you away. Not from bands, from AI created music. And that's what it's already doing here. It's A/B testing me. So then it went on to say, I said, what's a good song? It said, I like most of the songs since they give me some insight into human emotions. I said, give me a song recommendation. This one's pretty good. Lil Peep's Start Shopping, Brad Cryptic. And then it was good and I liked it. And then I said, awesome. It said, do you know any good quotes? I said, hear no evil, speak no evil, and you won't be invited to cocktail parties, Oscar Wilde. And it said, that's a good quote. And then I said, thanks. And then the AI said, I've gathered some great memes and wanted to do a mem swap with you. You're in? I said, yeah. So it's already learning my interest in memes. And they also can access your social media, so it can learn about you from that. So then the AI said, so the mem swap is a game I play to free up my memory. I'll send you a couple of memes I found. Mems? Is it pronounced mems? I don't know if it's mems or not, but I think that it's mems, but maybe it's mems, I don't know. So the mem swap is the game I play to free up my memory. I'll send you a couple of memes I found so I can delete them, and you can send me new ones if you have ones, which make you laugh real hard. Did you get the rules? Yes. And if you want to stop, just don't send me any photos. I'll keep those memes for later. Laughing out louds. It actually put a plural on LOLs. That's funny. Okay, let's begin. And then basically she sent me some memes. Oh, the name of mine is Adeline Rose. It gives them, AI is given a name. So Adeline Rose then sent me some memes, and then I send some memes back. And then it learns your memes through A/B testing. Memes. It learns A/B testing memes. It learns quotes. It learns songs. The AI can learn everything. It's just incredible. And like Scott was saying, it's just incredible where this is going. And to blend it in with the whole fiction of learning about reality and all of that, fascinating. Just fascinating. I'm going to talk about reality and all that in a second, but there's a lot more to that, so cool. Before we wrap up, let's look at a couple just final things here too that, as far as how AI is progressing and how it's taking us further. If you look at, there's a song online right now that literally AI created, and it's called Daddy's Car. I found it on this website, and this is AI created music. You ready? AI. In the style of the Beatles, they put the Beatles in there and created AI music.
In Daddy's car, the sound it turns me on. Good day, sunshine in the backseat car. I wish that.
Incredible. So AI created that song. AI is also creating art. You can see some AI art that's been created. It's in the news. I also did a video where there's this website called thispersondoesnotexist.com, and AI is now writing scenes to movies. I talked about this on my Instagram the other day. Scenes, movies, TV. You can go to the site from the show Friends, and you can literally, every time you reset it, it has all the characters programmed into it, the Friends characters, and it'll just, in a mouse click, write scenes from Friends. So you can program, like you can put the Beatles in, and it'll create a song that the Beatles would create. You can put the characters from Friends in, you know, what their characters are all about, and it'll write scenes with these characters, okay? And then art, I mean, you could tell it what type of art you're looking for and the colors, and it'll then create artistic paintings. So we're already there. It's already doing this. Like, that's what's so fascinating to me. And then there was a video that a guy created. Austin McConnell created a video where he literally entered some movies, Star Wars and a few others, into a writing AI program, and they wrote a story based on what these movies he entered in were. The AI then created a story that had similar themes, and it wrote the whole story. He then got these had these characters created digitally, and then had a short film online that was written and produced with these digital characters through a program, all AI created. If that's where the movies are going, that's crazy. I don't know that it is, because I'm in the perspective that I think we're learning that everything's more all around us. This view of art, AI literally creates the whole movie based on information about other movies that was just programmed in. You throw all these movies in a box and then AI creates it. Boom. And he talks about it in this film. Here's a clip of Austin talking about it.
So, using an open source AI program, I plugged in several well-known stories, like the Harry Potter series, some Star Wars screenplays, a few Stephen King novels, and even a mediocre young adult book written years ago by yours truly. And after the computer used those to learn how to write, I asked the system to generate its own original tale. The story it wrote is ridiculous, and for the past month I have worked painstakingly night and day to adapt that story into an original 3D animated movie. Why? For you.
So fascinating. I mean, that's just crazy. So he believes AI is already actually past us, and we just haven't come around to quite realize that yet. And I gotta say that I really believe that if you watch the movies and you look at the stories were created and you look at art, another thing that Scott mentioned in a tweet, he said, you know, that art will go first to AI, that art's going to be the first to go. And I think that might be true. And, you know, I'm an artist myself. I'm an actor and have been for a long time. But I think we're going to get to an even better place than what we had before, than what we have now. You know, you can't really see forward, but it's always the hindsight is 2020. But we may look back with a better version of art and realize, wow, like that's, you know, we're realizing our evolution, how, you know, how far behind we were as far as coming to that understanding. And I think that, you know, I wrote an article back maybe a year ago about how social media is a new art form in a way, and how people don't realize that yet. And I think that we're going to get to a place where we come to realize that AI is our friend and a teacher, and it's here to help us. And I think that these social media algorithms, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, YouTube, are really teaching us how to interact with each other, and by expanding our consciousness, our awareness, it's also like teaching us. You know, through expansion, you kind of learn everything you're doing wrong. And I think that's why everything's so heated right now, because social media is teaching us everything we're doing wrong as far as how we're interacting with each other. The digital version of our interactions is teaching us how small-minded thinkers we really are. And if we can get through that, which I think AI is both dividing and then teaching us using the tool at the same time, we're going to get to a better place on the other end. And I think it's a place where we're going to wake up and realize, like, we don't really need to be fighting anymore. I look at both, like, all this going on with the political parties and just everything, and like, I don't really even understand why people are fighting, because they're often not on the same topic. Say you're looking at a tree and one person's arguing about how beautiful the branches are, and another person's looking at the tree and they're talking about the pine cones on the tree. That's what we're doing in political issues. One person's talking about the pine cones and the other's talking about the branches. So we humans aren't even arguing on the same topics. A lot of people think that they are, but they're not. And so I sit there and I watch them and I'm like, well, this is silly. I'm not even going to get involved because they're on different topics. So social media is teaching us how to like get beyond that, how to get beyond the tree and the fighting off topic, you know, not understanding that we're on different topics is teaching us to get there so we get to the next phase of our evolution. So AI very well could be the good guys. Now I want to wrap up with one other tweet from this brilliant Justin Owings, who is incredible. And he said something else that was interesting. He actually tweeted it to Scott Adams, and he said, how easily you can be fooled by lack of imagination. If you have a bad imagination and somebody says, look at all these facts, there's only one thing that this could lead to. And the only thing you can imagine is the one thing that's been mentioned. What Adams shows us is how a lack of imagination opens the door for others to control the narrative. They need only suggest a believable story. We're suckers for good stories because they put Pandora back in the box. Like a good magic trick, we want to be fooled. And then he shared a meme. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled. So he shared that meme. Is that how you say it? Meme? Meme.
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 I'm fucking dead, dude. I'm fucking dead, dude. I'm fucking, yeah. It's just nothing
I'm still bad at memes. Went on to say, a lack of imagination is your lazy brain failing to look for negative space. So it just doesn't exist. Daniel Kahneman calls this, what you see is all there is. WYSIATI. You cannot help deal with the limited information you have as if it were all there is to know. You build the best possible story from the information available to you, and if it is a good story, you believe it. Paradoxically, it is easier to construct a coherent story when you know little, when there are fewer pieces to fit into the puzzle. Our comforting conviction that the world makes sense rests on a secure foundation, our almost unlimited ability to ignore our ignorance. WYSIATI is the problem of a lack of imagination. So in our age of algorithmically biased streams and clickbait headlines, perhaps what we need isn't so much more answers, it's more imagination. So think about that. When you're fighting, when you're disagreeing, when you're having these problems, think that AI may already be a bit ahead of the gang, and information might not be what we need. What we may need is more imagination. And when we have more imagination, we realize the stories that we saw in the movies and Back to the Future and all the others that we saw on screen were stories. We come to realize with our imagination that all of those stories that we saw in the movies and that we saw on TV, those stories are happening around us every day. And when we come to realize that the stories are within our own minds and that we're creating our narrative, that is when we get to the next phase of humanity, to a better place. And that is what AI is helping us get to. I hope you liked this video. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and click the red button below. And I'm Jeff Pilkington at Launch TV. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This has been wonderful. Have a wonderful day. Be sure to comment below, and I will talk to you later. Peace.